You know what's the greatest part about this is I forgot what we were talking about already. So we can just start all over. So I am here today at Cumberland Marketing in the studios of the podcast of, what do we call our podcast anyway? Beyond the Edge of Night. This is the podcast. This is called Beyond the Edge of Night. Is that corny?
No, I love it.
Oh, I got to work on making it cornier. I like corny to a degree, but I also am trying, I'm really fighting the cool, like coolness comes automatically to me, so I'm always trying to add corniness in.
You can't take yourself too serious.
Yeah, you're right. It's
Yeah.
not work. And then if I was too serious, if I was the most serious acting, what knife maker would I be?
You can't put me in that position. I could get in a lot of trouble if I answer that
You can
question.
suggest it, but not say the name.
No.
All right. I am here with Alicia, the Blade Show director. The director of Blade Show. The person.
Boss.
Huh?
The boss.
The boss, yeah. So Alicia, you know what was funny is as we've been doing this, and there is someone on our team who basically screwed up the first 20 minutes of this because they didn't have the audio on, but we won't name them. We'll just bring them to Blade Show, and I'll be like, that's the guy. And you can mess with him. I hope you do. I hope you watch this. So this episode today is brought to you by Bill Harsey. Bill Harsey is paying for this in full, and he doesn't know it yet, but we've been billing his account for, I don't know, whenever I started this series, he doesn't even know, but Bill Harsey's been paying this for years, and thanks, Bill. We appreciate this. One day you'll know. But anyway, thanks for doing that. Appreciate it, buddy.
You gotta love Bill. Always a giver.
What's funny is he doesn't even know he's been doing this. He'll be like, what? What? He doesn't even know how to use social media either, does he?
No, he does. He's not bad.
Okay.
He's not bad.
Wow.
I've seen worse.
Well, we're in Cumberland Marketing. This is the whatever episode of our podcast, which we are working diligently on making consistent. I'm drinking a latte. What do you got over there? You got a Henning Wilkerson?
I got a Henning Wilkinson beer.
We call that a bold-headed bastard.
Yes.
Yes.
But one of the best.
So what I want to know, Alicia, is how many years have you been the director of the Blade Show?
So I acquired the leadership role of the Blade Show in 2010. So 2020 will be my 11th Blade Show.
Wow, that's cool. That's a great number. I like 11.
That is a good number.
I like 11 and 13, but I don't like 12 too much.
That's too bad because 12 is going to be like rock solid.
Really? 12
Yeah.
what?
Because 12, my 12th year of running the show will be our 40th anniversary of the Blade Show.
Well, that sounds like I like that. Okay, you're
And
right.
how many things do you know that, anniversaries that are 40?
Well, I kind of forget about those. I can't decide if it's the 5th or the 6th.
It's
But
the
it's the
6th.
All right. So we're here to have fun, and we want to be enlightening and entertaining in our podcast, as well as when we are doing videos. Tomorrow we'll be doing a live feed. By the time you see this one, we're going to have to cut it because we're going to be talking so much trash about Matt Cohen that we're going to definitely have to cut this a lot because we had some fun stuff we were saying.
We did. We were on it.
Gosh.
But since it was so organic, you can't recreate it.
Yeah, you're right. You can't recreate it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about Kingsport?
It's great. I've heard about Kingsport. We got some exhibitors from this area, so I've always heard about it. And, not that we need any sponsor ads, but right now, some love for Grant Tire and Auto.
Yeah, they did treat you well.
Who have taken care of me for, not that this needs to be on the podcast, but 4 miles from arriving into, Kingsport, Tennessee, my car decided that it was not going to run anymore.
I think what they have is something that you are always, for me, you are known for as being genuine and honest. And that is one of the rare things. It is rare and of course it's genuine and honest, but it's rare. And so it's always surprising to me as you were telling me the tales of woe from the people who bitch and complain about Blade Show in whatever capacity. And that will pass.
It's like everything else in life. really, I mean, when you have something this big with this many numbers, you got a couple of bad eggs.
Yeah.
But the great thing is this is one of the best communities to work with.
Yeah.
And because we are so large, the good people and everything that's beautiful about this industry and awesome about this industry far outweighs those couple bad eggs.
I agree. One of the coolest things for me is I know Blade Show has been postponed. That was a good call. I know some people complained about it. We didn't. We're going to support it no matter what, no matter where, because it is an event. And that's, for me, that is a thing that we keep saying Blade Show.
Right.
But underground, on the other side of things, we've been calling it an event for years. And I feel like you may be one of the people who've helped catalyze it into becoming that event. People come to Blade Show not necessarily to just buy a knife, but they get to meet the maker. They get to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and that's what's wonderful about it. And I always like to share. So going to Blade Showing and being a part of the event it's like part of the thing I look forward to all year, because when the time comes, it's like, I got to make my pieces for Blade Show. I got to get my stuff ready for Blade Show. I got to get myself together for Blade Show. And we go to Blade Show, and the whole thing in our mind is like, it's the release, it's the fun, it's being there in the show, enjoying the energy and everything that's happening, being at the pit, talking to friends, seeing people you only see maybe once a year. Now, I know that this year is going to be a little bit different because a lot of people can't travel right now. As far as I know, nobody from Canada can travel. We got a lot of great makers from there that are friends of ours, like Brian Ty, Kirby Lambert,
Greg Lightfoot.
Greg Lightfoot. I think about Greg Lightfoot like this. Greg Lightfoot is like Greg Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so
I mean,
I'm going to miss them, but they're
a lot
great
of the
makers.
international, unfortunately, this year will,
Yeah.
Unfortunately be a missing component of the show, which is one of the great highlights, and is why we've been able to dub Blade Show as the world's largest knife show, because, it is the only place that you can go and just see knives. But the reality is, to your point, you call it an event. We look at it more of as an experience. We call the Blade Show an experience. That's because it is a place where you can come and you can buy knives, and you can buy from the best in the business, factory knife, custom knife. But there's Blade University. I mean, how often do you get to sit in a room with the top of the top and, get a chance to learn from them? Or, go out and watch the World Cutting Championships or the ballet song flipping competition. Like,
that one is
it
quite
is,
entertaining.
and it's an experience, and it's more than just an event, and people come from all around the world.
Yeah.
And it's been a tough year for everybody. It's been a tough year for the industry. It's been a tough year for people in general, and it was a tough decision for us. We are glad that we postponed it, and we totally respect the fact that a lot of people can't come or choosing not to come. We get that. But our ultimate goal is still to provide an awesome experience for those people that do come. And I think most importantly right now, because with everything that's happened right now, so many things have been canceled. We've provided an opportunity to give one thing for people to look forward to, it's something that people enjoy doing. And so people are excited to come. So, I think 2020 will be an edited version. We'll call it the edited version of the Blade Show. But the talent and the quality and the experience that people have come to love about the show, that won't go away.
Yeah, that's right. I like that. I think that this year is going to be fascinating because it's going to take us back to a time when Blade Show was smaller.
Yes.
We were tighter.
Yes.
It'll be like going back to the era before the forums, before the internet, before Facebook. We're going to have fun.
Yes.
And we're going to renew and even develop a core group that will say, hey, do you remember 2020 Blade Show? And everybody's like, I was there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
I know.
I'm looking
And,
forward to it.
as someone that has been with the show, when I first took the show over, and not to get into like logistics facility wise, but we're only in a couple halls. We weren't in all the space that we're in now. So there will be much more of an intimate feeling. It will be spread out for people concerned, but there will still be an intimacy there, and there'll be a lot more opportunity for people to engage, to spend time with makers where they don't feel so overwhelmed. And listen, we love the fact the Blade Show has grown and it's become the show that it is. But like we said,
it is the show.
It is the show.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a great show, and the people that are there are going to still have a great time, and they'll get to spend more time, engaging with makers and the factory guys and everyone else.
Cool. I remember one of the first times I had gone to Blade Show, sometime back in the 90s, and I had two of the early Serbenzas, and they were back when Serbenzas they were different. And if you have a Chris Reeve Serbenza, you know what I'm talking about. But this was like the second year that maybe they came out. It redefined a whole folding knife genre, which has become known as the frame lock. And I had two of those, and I think it's cool. So the first time I saw Chris Reeve, I was like, there's that guy, he's a race car driver, it's Chris Reeve. Now, I haven't seen him in a long time. I know there's all kind of stuff about that, but for me, it was cool to see these makers. They're rock stars to me, like seeing Steve Schwarzer.
Who is a rock star.
He's a rock star. He's
not as much as Laura.
Laura, that's right. So what's another thing that's cool is like there's another cat that shows up, and oh gosh, I hope Daryl Meyer comes. Daryl Meyer was showing me this piece of steel one time. It looked like it was holographic. He goes, oh yeah, I made that back in 1986. I'm like, what? But so there's all kind of cool makers. Example, Bill Ruppel.
The best.
Bill Ruppel's another person. For me, Bill Ruppel redefined the slip joint. He brought it back into popularity. Yes, there are other people who've been making slip joints, but for me, Bill Ruppel really made it popular again. And we don't have to agree or disagree. It's just, for me, my experience at Blade Show and with the knife community and with knife makers is different than everybody else's, because I am an admirer, I am a fan, and I am a student. But I'm also a maker. And so when I see certain things, I'm just like, man, that is cool. Another person I think about who I've only seen once at Blade Show is Bob Kramer. He's a good dude. And I think the last time I saw Bob at Blade Show was 2012. But he was like one of the forerunners of bringing the chef's knife into popularity.
Right.
And that's the new thing that's coming. It's not a trend. It's not going away. Now, we do see trends at the Blade Show.
Absolutely.
And I always think it's fascinating. Like, for example, Bowie knives are a trend. Bowie knives are fun. They're neat. They're, in my mind, just my opinion, and they're like a fantastical, historical, almost an anachronism in a way. So sometimes they're popular and sometimes they're not. But some of the knives that are always going to be popular, never going out of style: chef's knives, hunting knives, folding knives. Folding knife category is broad and vast.
Yes.
I've been designing and making folding knives since 2006. First folder I ever made was with Wade Coulter. I've got a tattoo of Wade. Wade Coulter is one of my favorite people in knife making and bladesmithing. But I like to talk about these things because I learned early on that certain styles, they come and go, but certain things, they don't. And folders don't go away. And the kitchen knife, the chef's knife, is one of those things. I think it's like it's a tidal wave. It's not just a little piece of wake. It's not just like, hey, let's catch that and ride it. It's like it's a tidal wave. It's timeless.
Yeah.
And my opinion is because it brings people together. It's a strange thing when you think about a knife that brings someone together. Besides just, hey, I collect case knives or this knives, but chef's knives makes food, and food brings people together.
Right.
I don't know what Bowie knives do, but they look cool sometimes.
I don't know. And to go back to something you were even talking about, Bill Ruppel, and I think this is, again, like you said, about knives and community. Bill Ruppel has literally spent hours, training, teaching kind of the next regime of slip joint guys, and has given of his time and his energy to teach all these guys to make slip joint knives, to a point where he's created the slip joint cartel,
that's right.
Which is now 2 rows worth of table makers with great guys all out of the Texas area making beautiful knives. But that's just a great example of someone that's taken all his knowledge, taken everything he's been given, and given back to the industry and continue to teach.
Yep. I like to use him as an example, and that's one reason we talk about him, because I like to say, I say solid gold, but he's one of these people I think of as solid gold. The first time I heard of him, I didn't meet him first. Like I was like, Bill Ruppel, who's that? And I saw his name, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, But slip joints were sexy to me, and I'm not being weird, but like he did something, but he cared, and that's another a key feature in the community of knife makers, however you make knives. And whether anyone knows it or not, I make knives in every way that they can be made. So that means forging, grinding, manufacturing, machining, every different direction you can be done in. Another great knife maker, one of my favorites, all-time favorites, is the Schwartz, Steve Schwarzer. He is I think he's one of, and I don't mean oldest in age, but he is the longest surviving master bladesmith and still producing bladesmith and still making bladesmith and still on the cutting edge of bladesmithing. So I know a lot of people who watch us on YouTube, listen to our podcast, or see any of the stuff we do on social media. You've heard of Canister Damascus. And I'll tell you about the first time I saw it. I think of it as Steve with a shotgun shooting quail. And I know the whole entire backlog. We're going to have Steve on here. In fact, the next Forged series that we're doing will be featuring the Grandmaster, Steve Schwarzer. And there really should be a title I believe he's attained, is Grandmaster, because...
Or even grandfather.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he is a grandfather.
He is a grandfather.
But I'm not. He might be a great-grandfather. Okay, we'll talk about that when he's here. But the thing I think about is the most fun is when you're making knives, and if you're out there and you're what I'm calling as an internet maker, no disrespect to you, because the reality is we live in a culture where media and social media is easily accessible. And when I began making knives, there was a lot of mythological people. I would imagine Don Fogg floating around on an oriental rug, tinkering with designs and working on a knife going, oh, maybe I'll make this a peshkabaz, or maybe I'll make a kris, or maybe I'll make a kukri. I was like, what language is he speaking? What is he talking about? I didn't even know what those knives were. I had no idea. And my point is, there were forerunners to this game who put us where we are, where I am, where you are. And it's important to remember the names, like George Herron. I don't know if you ever got to meet George Herron.
I did not. I know the name clearly.
If you think of the word Southern gentleman, there should be a picture of him in the dictionary, smoking a pipe. Well, lad, let me tell you, this guy was honest, straightforward, and direct. He, another solid gold individual in our history as knife makers. I know he's in the Blade Magazine Cutlery Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And well, he should be. So should many others.
Yes.
So I don't want to get too corny, which I'm on the cusp of.
It's okay.
So I'm going to let you talk.
No, I think it's something else you said about even internet makers, and again, but I think that's the one difference, or the one beauty also of going to a show is, for a lot of people that really understand knives, they want to touch the knife. They want to feel the knife. It's a tactical experience, tactile experience. And, that you can't do that with the internet.
Yeah.
So, it gives you the opportunity to literally be there, see the knives. And I think a lot of times, again, in a show experience, is you're exposed to so much more. And I think people learn so much more about knives. Obviously, when I started running this show 11 years ago, obviously I know what a knife is, but I never knew all the elements of knives. And obviously we, as a show, fight the stigma of knives as weapons, which unfortunately puts us in a position to not do our show in a lot of places because knives are considered weapons. But as someone that has run the show now for 11 years, I've seen the best of the best, some of the most beautiful knives I've ever seen in my life that are artwork. And, there's that level of education for people to understand that knives are not weapons. People have poured their heart and soul. This is their passion. This is what they do for a living. And you really, when you come to the Blade Show, you really get to be encapsulated in that passion and be a part of that. Yeah. And I think that's why the knife community is just the greatest ever. And personally, for me, just an honor to be a part of it and produce an event that allows people to come and be a part of and showcase their work and something that's their heart and soul.
That's right. Weapon is intent. And I always think it's funny when someone wants to discuss that as a subject with me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, your car. They let any damn buddy drive a car. Right. Especially in South Carolina. If you're from South Carolina, I am from there also. So don't be too offended, but you know how that is. So weapon is intent. And when we go to Blade Show, I know of only one type of knife fight that there is. And that is the battle over price. Yes. Who will pay the highest price for the knife? And that's always a fun one to get into with people. But there's so many things we could talk about. And
I could tell you all kinds of stories from behind the scenes, but it probably wouldn't do me good. But I've seen everything from, please don't throw me under the bus, but Travis Wirtz splitting a watermelon in the pit on a table that we may or may not have had to offer to pay for because the table got damaged.
No matter what. Yeah,
no.
That's right.
Bill Ripple may or may not have been there as well. So
we used to get in a lot of trouble at the pit. Speaking of which, not in the pit, but do you remember the first time you had to yell at me?
I do remember, because the way I look at it with my exhibitors, there are so many exhibitors. So sometimes it's a blur. So many people come up to me and say, we met you. And I'm like, if you met me at the Blade Show, I apologize. That doesn't count. But once I've yelled at you.
You could be like, what did you do to get in trouble and was notable? And you were an ass about it that I could remember. I was like, okay, that was cool. All right.
Once I've had to yell at you at the Blade Show or scold you or reprimand you, then you're permanently, locked in. So it's kind of it's almost a badge of honor to be yelled at by the Blade Show director. Yeah. Look at us now. And here we are hanging out in Kingsport, Tennessee.
We had fun. So my memory, the first time you yelled at me was, I think it might have been 2014. It was the last year I actually had a table. Right. Yeah. So I had me and Shelly and Tiger Lily and Tristan. And Tiger Lily was demonstrating forging blades with clay. And we had hammers and I had some knives, but I wasn't really there talking about knives. I was talking about forging. And what I do understand is there are other makers around a table or a booth. And sometimes they're upset that your table is clogged up with people that are like, why is everybody over there? What are they doing? And they come in, they always complain to you because it's, whose fault is it?
Always
it's not really your fault, of course, but you get the blame. So they yell at you and then you yell at me. And I totally respect that because I know that there is an order to be maintained and there's a lot of repercussions for you, not necessarily for me. I'm like, hey, we did this, no, we had 15 people deep at our table, blah, 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 whatever it was. It was great, we had fun. But that's not fun for you. And I'm bringing this subject up because at the Blade Show, there are people, and I'm not the only one, of course, there are many, many, many more. Some people are more popular than others because we will draw a crowd and we'll make a scene, not necessarily meaning to.
No.
But there are other makers around us, and while the show hours are going on, it can be a fire hazard, like clogging up the exhibit hall.
That's the
Which
biggest.
was the last time that you had to yell at me.
to yell at you because you became Jason Knight personally became a fire hazard.
I didn't.
No, you know what? Here's the thing. We understand at the end of the day, everybody's trying to run their business. We want energy on the show floor. All of that's good. But we do. You know, we get situations sometimes that I have to go in and, you know, flex these small little muscles that I got. But
you got it. You're like, do it now. Get down off that. Like, get off that table. I don't care if you're wearing a skirt. Get your ass off that table and get the hell out of here. And
I mean,
was
let's
like,
be real.
let's
For
respect
1
that,
week
yeah.
out of the year, 1 week out of, you know, all 52 weeks in the year, 1 week out of the year, you know, what I say goes.
Wait, there's
The minute
52 weeks in
yeah,
there?
the minute I leave Atlanta, I become a nobody again. So
But it's so much fun to go to a show. But
it is. It's the best week. It's the hardest. It's up for me, and I know for all the makers and everybody that comes. It is a grueling weekend. It is a grueling several weeks and months leading up for everybody getting ready. But it's also the most rewarding because once you get there, you forget about everything else that you did, all the hours, all the sleepless nights, all the time that you spent getting ready. The minute you get there, you're with friends, you're with family, you're meeting new people, you're, you know, reuniting with old friends. And not to mention, you think about all the people that come from all over the world, that this is the only time we get to see them.
That's right.
But they've become friends, and you get a chance to hang out with them. And there's only one place that you can do that.
Is at the Blade Show
It's at the
in
Blade
Atlanta.
Show.
So I want you to know something. There are 13 phases that the moon goes through in a year. There are 12 months, 365 days roughly. And some of us, including me, will work for at least 2 months to bust ass to get stuff made for Blade Show. But Alicia is working for you for how many months to get ready for Blade Show?
For Blade Show Atlanta, probably
all of them?
No, Blade Show Atlanta is about 8 months.
8 months of
And
work.
then Blade Show West is the other 4 months.
Yeah, Blade Show is, and it's a lot of work. So what I really want you to do, admire and respect Alicia, the director of Blade Show. We should come up with a special t-shirt or patch like, I support Alicia.
That's right.
I'm on Team Alicia. We should come up with something fun. But the most important thing is that you understand there's a lot of work that goes into this game. There's a lot of work that Alicia's putting into it. And the team is very small. It is her responsibility. She is the Blade Show director. And I appreciate you. And I thank you so much for being here with us on my microscopic podcast at this point. But one day we'll be interviewing some big names like Rick Sanchez. He's from Rick and Morty. Or maybe we get to interview Charlie Brown. And maybe we get to interview Bert Foster.
You just never know.
We never know. Or maybe we get to interview Joe Rogan. I don't know.
That's
Maybe we
very
get to
possible.
interview Austin, also known as Post Malone. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right. If you're watching, thank you for watching. Subscribe, leave an intelligent comment, and I hope you enjoy your day. And I want to see you at the Blade Show.
Come to the
Come
Blade
see
Show.
us. Come to the Blade Show. We're going to have a great time. Thanks, Alicia.
Thanks, Jason.